We have started to record the most recent session of MM2003, Reporting and Writing for the Mass Media for the fall semester. It is Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. After today, we have one official class session. Next week, then fall break is going to interrupt Thursday of next week, which is September 30th. Now, we'll have 8 official class periods during the month of October. Later today, I will place an October calendar up on the screen, so in terms of time management, you'll know how to go about getting your assignments, how you can watch the videos, and keep up to date. Because most of the time, during the month of October, there is going to be some type of an assignment due, including the first day that we come back from fall break. The way it's going to work is this. We're going to go through assignment 5, hometown hard news today. We have a dozen websites of your classmates that we will be showcasing during this particular class session. Tuesday of next week, we'll be doing research into assignment 6. I'll be talking about that later. That and assignment 7 will be due to Tuesday and Thursday once we return from the break. A reminder that if you'd like to join us live, here's what you do. I was talking about this with one of you who is joining us live during class. You can either join it on the top, which is in the larger font style, joining the course room, or you can join us on the bottom. Not a problem whatsoever. From this particular area, click on recordings, and we already have the boo-boo from a moment ago where I was basically swallowing my tongue, so this is take 2, and this is actually going to be erased right now. If this doesn't prove that I believe in transparency, nothing does, because our official class session today is going to be Video H. Where can you access these videos in case you have a challenge getting to Ultra on your personal device? Go to my website. You've seen this before, but I think it's important that everyone knows I put the videos in more than one place. There is, in addition, our Tuesday class session. The way in which these videos are uploaded, it is up to Google Drive to determine what visual you're going to see on the screen. It's a little bit different than YouTube, which provides you an option of visuals. These are just all selected randomly by Google Drive as the videos are uploaded to the website. It just so happens that in 4 out of the 7 videos, you see my pseudo shining visage, and then Video H will take the place of whiteboard, and that'll go down into the next column. Everything that you need to know realistically for the semester is going to be right there. But then, of course, there's one more element, and it's this. When you access a video from the website, my website, it's going to look a little bit different when you click on it than when you do it through Ultra. It looks like this. And when I click on it, bits and pieces, one more time. We have started to record the most recent session of MM2003, Reporting and Writing for the Mass Media for the fall semester. It is Tuesday, September 21st, 2021. Here is a photo of Main Street. Again, there's some of you who are enrolled in Introduction to Mass Communication. We were talking about the newspaper industry today. There is the banner news location on Main Street. But it's not used that much anymore because the Banner News is primarily now an online publication. Many local newspapers just have closed or have consolidated because so many people are getting their information today online. So to cover yourself legally, the shooting happened, but you always want to say the alleged shooter. On the far right to see what in your case would be appropriate right now for a hard news story. Perfect example.
So, sorry,
No, that's okay. The duck stamp here would be appropriate for a feature. The Van Buren man sentenced to 30 years for interstate transportation of a minor from Montgomery County. Something like this would be appropriate for a hard news story. Now, what were you going to say?
pretty much what you said. I was going to point out about this example.
It's possible that you've got some assignments listed on another address, and I may not have that address. So let's go ahead and make sure that we are correct with the address and caught up with all the projects. Looks like she's going to be working on some type of scam alert, football league. Adam Schefter, who is an NFL reporter for ESPN, he's got Fox News on two different occasions, NFL on ESPN, ESPN, Mule Rider football, and Oklahoma football. Seen so far this semester, who took the news writing course in the past. This is Alexis Flanagan, who graduated in the spring, and now she is working at a media company in Atlanta, Georgia. This is what her website looks like. Alexis is on the left. How many feature stories we get through on Thursday? I may sneak that in. We'll play it by ear, but we will easily make it to all 20 projects before we get to the end of the semester. Particular time to examine one, the format, two, their storytelling structure, and most importantly, three, the writing style. Take a look at how they are constructing a lead sentence to a paragraph. Not a lot of excess verbiage, but just the facts. The who, the what, the where, the why, and the when for any of those projects. It does come in handy whenever you're looking at these websites on an extended basis, because that's going to help you in the long run maximize your influence, credibility, writing, and creative style as a mass media reporter and writer. We will continue examining assignment 5 on Thursday in this class, which is hometown feature news. Good luck with your research. Come to the Magnolia area for the Columbia County Fair for your feature story if that's what you want to do. That certainly would be appropriate. As for MM 2003, reporting and writing for the mass media, that concludes the recording session for today. That's what it looks like when the video is concluded when viewing it from my website. And that was not any kind of an electronic glitch on my end. The video froze with my face for a few seconds during the original recording session on Tuesday of this week, and I just went ahead and let it play exactly the way that you would see it either on Ultra from the Blackboard website or from what you would see on my website. And once in a while, as you're aware, I continue to show you those videos just to let everybody have the opportunity to look in either venue for data. Now let's talk about upcoming projects and dates. This is on Google Drive, format slightly differently on your website. Here's what's coming up. On Tuesday of next week, I am going to discuss in detail where you can access material related to Assignment 6. Campus crime is taking place at a local, state, national, or international level. There is something called the Jean Clary Reporting Act. By the end of September of every year, all institutions of higher education have to make crime statistics for the past year public. Not only report them to the federal government, but make them available in most cases online. And that's why, for us, campus crime number 6 is always going to be right at the end of September. And I decided to wait and have assignment 6 technically due during the month of October, because many of those stories are going to be published at the end of next week. So you can go ahead and examine that during the break, and then whenever we come back in early October, campus crime number 6 is going to be due, either at the local, state, national, or international level. If you want to look from back to front at an international institution and public stories about campus crime or campus crime statistics, that's acceptable. If you want to look at national stats about some robberies or incident reports that are filed by campus police on a nationwide scope, that's acceptable. If you want to look at campus crime in Arkansas or Texas or Oklahoma or Mississippi or another state, that's fine. On the local level, if you wanted to go to the Southern Arkansas University website and check out the website for the University Police Department, because all of these incident reports, in one way or another, are going to be made available to the public. Now, before the Jean Clary Reporting Act, which we'll talk about on Tuesday of next week, it didn't necessarily always feature the kind of open circumstances for finding out about campus crime years ago. I think it's really important that that's the type of news story that you not only find out data, but also report on your findings. And there are many excellent examples from cohorts who took this class in previous years. The Thursday that you come back from break, we'll have assignment 7, campus hard or feature news. Again, it can be at the local, state, national, or international level. Assignment 6, campus crime, will be written like 4 and 5, hometown hard news and feature news, as a news story in and of itself, with interactivity, with links, with your original source that you edited from. The same thing with assignment 7, campus hard or feature news. There, you've got the opportunity to talk about something that may be a homecoming activity, something that's taking place on campus that is feature-oriented, or something that may be a hard news story. It could potentially involve campus crime again, or it might involve finances or some serious issue taking place on a university campus. It could be masking, it could be vaccinations. Any of those would fit into the category. We also have coming up assignment 8, which is public records at the local level. Sometimes it might be in Southern Arkansas. It could be oil drilling. It could be real estate transactions. All of those are made available through county clerk records that are going to be made available in Columbia County, Ouachita County, Union County. Look at the Magnolia Banner News. Look at Magnolia Reporter. If you live in the Camden area, it could be the Camden News. If it's El Dorado, Union County, it could be the El Dorado News Times. If it's Arkadelphia, it could be something else. If it's Pine Bluff, it could be something else. If it's Little Rock, it could be something else. But public records are really something that all reporters need to understand, because that's where you're going to be doing some deep dives into material. If a school board wants to renovate, where is the funding coming from? If you want to find out how much someone is making for any type of a contract, it's going to be made available if it's done from a county or state entity through public records. Now remember, you've got a campus crime story, local, state, national, international, a campus harder feature story, local, state, national, or international, public records local, public records at the state, national, or international level, and then we get to assignment 10, listing posts. Where do you and your friends hang out and talk about campus news or talk about community issues? Is it in a residence hall? Is it in the rental center? Do you do it someplace on or off campus? And what types of issues do you discuss? What about your parents? What about older brothers and sisters? What jobs do your parents have? Where do they hang out to talk about issues? My father was a farmer in central Illinois. Two places that he used to hang out to talk with other farmers would be at grain elevators. Corn and soybeans are very popular in the Midwest. Or he might go to a small cafe not very far from our farm. A farming community of about 250, 300 people. You go into that small cafe, have a cup of coffee, talk to other farmers about grain prices, talk about the livestock that you have, talk about the weather, talk about anything that's related to being a farmer or a rancher. That's why these next 5 assignments coming up, I think, are really important. Listening posts, 2 assignments with public records, campus harder feature news, or campus crime. And that leads us to do something that I wanted to show you before we went any further, and that is a calendar. I've got a lot of windows open, and I hope I can access the calendar. I went online, and this is called Free Printable October 21 Calendars. Here's the month of October, brought to you by your friendly sponsor at wikicalendar.com. In the month of October, once we come back from break, there are, as you can see, 2, 4, 6, 8 different class sessions, Tuesdays and Thursdays. On virtually all of those class sessions, there's going to be an assignment that's due. Realistically, by the time all of us get through the month of October, it'll probably be roughly around assignment 12, with assignments 13 and 14 due early in November. So by the time we get to the month of November, we'll be very close to the 20 required assignments. Just wanted you to visualize that calendar, because the 5th, the week of, the 12th, the 19th, the 26th, whenever we meet, all of those assignments are going to be due, and I'll give you advance warning as to when they're going to be required for the blogs. And then there's something else I want to mention while I'm on camera. I intentionally decided to do the campus crime and the campus hard and feature news stories after we come back from the break when they're due. Now, I'll be talking about assignment 6, campus crime, on Tuesday. But all of you, by the time we return from fall break in early October, I want all of your websites updated through assignment 5. And there are a couple of you, whenever I click on your links, I don't see anything. I reminded those of you who were in that situation in class on Tuesday, if those are placeholder websites and you've decided to go someplace else with the address, please send me an email message to my Yahoo address. Because as you're well aware, mass communication is a deadline-driven industry. You always have to make certain that stuff is done relatively on time. And that includes the editing, the writing, the formatting of the website. One more thing before we start looking at projects. Hometown hard news, hometown feature news, assignment 4 and assignment 5 this week, with the emphasis on, of course, feature news today. Does your blog, from a 30,000-foot perspective, read and feel like a professional news blog as we progress during the semester? It may not right now, and that's okay. But that's why reporting and writing for the mass media is important, but so is editing. That's the third component. And don't forget the aesthetics. The first website that we're going to look at today, and this is in reverse alphabetical order, we're not going to be looking at everyone's project, but this is what Carlin has. When you click on her website, from the link provided, this is what you see. She's got the drone photo that was taken by a Magnolia resident for the feature story related to the Columbia County Fair. And it's still going on until the end of the week. Usually it takes place a little bit earlier, not this late in the month of September. Usually it's going on a month, not a month earlier, but usually a week to 10 days earlier than what it's taking place in 2021. When you click on read more, Carlin's got 1, 2 different photos available. So that's the drone photo that was available from Magnolia Reporter that we saw on Tuesday. And that is the 2021 Columbia County Fair Queen photo. So here, what Carlin has done, she's got a headline, the Columbia County Fair. This is where all of you need to start thinking about how your lead sentences are written. The who, the what, the where, the why, the when of print journalism. Now, it's not always going to fit with who, what, where, why, when, the 5 W's, but you want to make certain that your lead sentences for paragraphs or in particular for a story encapsulate what it's all about. The Columbia County Fair has been around since 1937. Now, realistically, Carlin, in a first reference, I would have fair capitalized, and then in all the other references as you have here, in lowercase is fine. And then you've got it taking place in Magnolia, loaded with carnival rides, yummy fair food. I don't know if I call it yummy, but having driven by the fair on many occasions, certain times in the evening, it does smell good. I will say that. Also a petting zoo, different events that are held under the pavilion every night, and particularly whenever you have any of the therapy animals available at any type of a fair where you can just go up and pet. Now, it may be different with a pandemic, but it is fascinating, something like a petting zoo and different events. The Columbia County Fair is something you don't want to miss if you're in the area. And she's writing hers more along the lines of an opinion piece. That's okay for this project. The excitement that takes place at the fair. Now, it used to be, before you had the story arena, all of the events that took place with the rodeo or other types of activities would be going on at the same time. And then you've got the winner who's 18 years old. She's a cheerleader for the mule riders. And then here, as you see what she's done, and if you want to drop and drag any type of a listing from Magnolia Reporter or Magnolia Banner News, that's fine, because that's what it looks like she did here. Now, the one thing you'd want to do, Carlin, is to go back in and tweak this, because right next to today, you've got a quotation mark, and you want to make sure that you edit that out. But that's the Magnolia Reporter list, as you correctly mentioned. So today, she has, of course, September 23rd, the day we're recording. The carnival is open. The $20 armband, that's a little stiff, but I suppose for some people, if you wanted to do that, probably would be a bargain. So tonight, you've got the livestock sale in the sale barn. And anybody who grows up on a farm, on occasion, you will go to a sale barn. Cows, hogs, sheep. And then you've got other types of contests going on this evening. On Friday, September 24th, a special day to some. The gates open at 5 p.m. The carnival is open with the armbands one more time. You've got more contests. You've got livestock released. Saturday, you've got the Bago tournament. Not sure what that is. I'm sure someone will tell me. Got the carnival, and then everything is going to be wrapped up by 11 p.m. on Saturday. As you're well aware, usually Sunday morning, all of the folks are taking Saturday night to pack everything up because they've got more fairs to go to. And all of that data is not only going to be available during the time that the fair is concluding, but you'll see all of these folks on the road sometime on Sunday if you live in the vicinity of the fairgrounds. But you've got all of the exhibits being removed on Sunday. You've got the premium checks at the fair office. Parking is free, but usually everything is going to be wrapped up sometime Saturday night. In this case, sometime on Sunday, with the food courts. Many of the portable displays will be ready to move on by vehicles to different venues. And that's what Carlin's website looks like. And she's got the read more style, as many of you do. Now we'll move on in reverse alphabetical order. And Lauren is going to be next. This is, of course, where all of you are going to experiment during the semester with what your digital front page looks like. And that's why I mentioned a few minutes ago, the editing is something that you should do continually. So for instance, in this case, I'd probably make it hometown feature, Laura, not feature. Just make it feature. Columbia County 4-H assists with Hurricane Ida relief. This is rewritten from Magnolia Reporter. And the story opens in a different window. But the original story, which is not on your screen right now, says, quote, Columbia County 4-H assists with Hurricane Ida relief. Here is the photo that is provided that she took from Magnolia Reporter. And then you've got, quote, families and friends of Columbia County 4-H members loaded an entire SUV with water, drink mixes, snacks, soft drinks, canned goods, cleaning supplies, and first aid kits to Southern Louisiana 4-H families. And other people would probably have more water and batteries. But an estimated $750 worth of supplies were collected during the first week of the drive. The Union County 4-H coordinated with La Fourche Parish 4-H to help distribute these supplies to the 4-H families there. Now, if that's the story, or if it's a work in progress, and let me refresh, if this is still a work in progress, Lauren, that's okay. That's not unusual, because you might want to include a quote from the story or more information. And here's something else that Lauren might do. More than likely, there's a Columbia County 4-H website. More than likely, there's going to be information from La Fourche Parish 4-H in Louisiana, which is mentioned in the story. So even though she's using Magnolia Reporter as her original source, she could also see whether or not Columbia County 4-H has a social media imprint, Union County, Bethlehem Community Kids, Shiloh Lamartine, Taylor Roaring Tigers, Teen Leaders, Unity 4-H, or La Fourche Parish 4-H, whether they have websites or social media imprints, and more data, more photos could be added to the story if that's something that she wanted to do. That's what Lauren's website looks like, as you're aware. When we click on it, the featured story is a little bit larger, which is not unusual, but this is what her website looks like from top to bottom. And by the time we get to the end of the semester, these usually get to be quite impressive. And let me check Carlin's website. Let me show you. And I try to do this with everyone through most of your projects, but let me show you Carlin's one more time, as we just did with Lauren's. From top to bottom. As we move on in the semester into the teens or the high teens, eventually when we continue to scroll on through the read more format, at the bottom it'll say something down around here, older posts, and you'll click on it. But I think it's important, as you're well aware with courses featuring media presentations and position papers, to have design consistency all the way through. You may not necessarily do yours exactly like this, but as long as Carlin has everything numbered from number 1 to number 20, and it's easy for people on their phones or on their computers to access, that is a huge advantage. And as you're looking at Carlin's, as we move on into October and November before Thanksgiving break, what can she do? What can Lauren do to continually improve the look, the feel, the professionalism of a news blog? And that leads us in reverse alphabetical order to Alexis, and we'll wait to turn your microphone on because I want to put yours up on the screen. And then
I can't hear you, sir.
let me try it one more time.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here's what happened. Now I'm going to take you off the screen and put me back up. For those of you who watched the videos, right now I have roughly about 15 or 16 tabs up on the screen with Google Drive. And I go back and forth. I view myself as primarily a television director going back and forth from one to another. And as I clicked on the website for Alexis, I clicked on the wrong link. And instead of refreshing her website, I went in a different direction. So while you're seeing me, I will do what I originally planned, is to refresh your website. And I will say this for the record. Oops, it happens on occasion. But see, this is why I kept asking you, Alexis, because at the bottom of my screen, I can see a microphone and the level fluctuates. And I can also tell that I had to mute my microphone and unmute and then make sure that my webcam became available. So while you're watching this in real time on the video later today, when it becomes available on Ultra and on my website, there may be a time span of about 45 seconds where the only thing that you see is a blank screen or something with an icon. And that icon would either be me or Alexis. Just wanted to explain that for the record before she came online. So this is what, and we'll do it in this case a little bit differently, because as we saw with Carlin and what we saw with Lauren, they're using a format that is somewhat similar to this. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and she's doing the hashtag, the number, a blank space, and then the projects. Here is her link to Hometown Feature News. And this is something that you saw from a little bit of the video playback from Tuesday's class that we showed at the outset today, looking at a Montgomery County, Arkansas news website. And you heard a little bit of audio from Alexis during that. And in this case, she's got the link to the story, which is, quote, Montgomery County Assisted Living celebrated National Assisted Living Week. So, Alexis, why don't you explain the rationale for you choosing this? And then once you've done that, we'll scroll through the story.
So I wanted a happy topic, and I really liked. I went on the website and I was just scrolling through different things, and I knew that we had the fair. And my uncle actually stays at one of the Montgomery County assisted living homes, and like I've done a bunch of volunteer hours there as well, and I just really like it. And so I found this, and it just made me happy, so I wanted to talk about it. But, yeah.
And there is a photo associated with the assisted living. And even though I clicked on this one, that one came up, but that's okay. So here's some of the activities that are involved. And why don't you go ahead and explain this, and I'll just scroll down.
So I was reading the different days, and on Monday they wore pajamas. On Tuesday they wore tie-dye clothing. On Wednesday they wore like some strange clothes. So like on your hands, like a backwards T-shirt, and then Thursday they wore like American flag, American Pride type of stuff. And then on Thursday they went to the Bamboo Palace, which is our Chinese restaurant in Mount Ida, and then they also went to the pumpkin patch. And then on Friday they had a luau, and they also played some outdoor games.
Okay. Now the two photos on top, are these both Montgomery County?
Yes.
So you've got Pajama Monday, Tie-Dye Tuesday, Wednesday is Wacky and Patriotic Thursday. And what do they do at the Chinese restaurant?
I believe they just ate there.
Right. And then they've got luau's and played games. I'm just teasing you, Alexis. This is why I'm your editor as well as your professor.
Oh no!
Did you do this online, or did you upload it as a Word document?
I did it online on the actual Google Blogger.
Okay, but see, this is why I tease some of you about this, because the editing part is relevant. It's not a problem because you can just go in right now. That's why it's helpful for everyone to have extra sets of eyes to look at these. And then at the bottom, that looks like, is that a generic photo of someone in assisted living?
So that's actually I believe that's a marketing for Montgomery County for the assisted
Right.
living. Because I Googled it, and then underneath it had the link for the website.
Right.
It looks like a stock photo, but I think it's
It
for
does.
advertising for Montgomery County.
And by the way, Alexis, there's nothing wrong with including stock photography in any of these, because it just shows you that all of these entities are going to be using advertising or marketing to get people to understand that assisted living is available for people who need it. They have that in Magnolia as well. I think they're apartments. I don't remember the name of them, but something like this comes in handy. And here's a link to the story. Now, unlike what we had earlier with the story, I believe it was the one that Lauren had on the hometown feature news with all of the items being given away, and that opened in a different window. In this case, your link opens in the same window, and there's the assisted living week with folks either with a stroller or the lady holding on to the gate in the middle. She's got a cane. So here you've got, and by the way, this is helpful. Let me see if I can get this photo totally on the screen. Just look at the lead sentence. Montgomery County Assisted Living celebrated National Assisted Living Week. That's a good, strong, journalistic headline. This is a week full of new meals, fun events, and activities. And then you've got all of the items that are taking place during the week, those items that were listed in the story. And there you've got some of the photos, some of the folks who live in the assisted living facility. And something like this is very helpful for people to be aware. And you have here primarily women, as most people are aware. On the DNA clock, most women live longer than men. And here is the link to your story. Here's the story itself. And if I go to the arrow, that's what your website looks like when we click on it for the first time. And you indicated, Alexis, that you wanted to do something for feature news that was happy. Why?
Well, with COVID and everything else that's going on in our life, I feel like we don't have enough happy news. So I really wanted something lighthearted and not, well, this wasn't our hard news either. This was feature news. So I thought
Yeah,
this
this
should
is
just be
feature.
a
Yeah,
happy topic.
yeah.
Hard news, I feel like, is something that, I mean, would be hard. Hard news makes me think of crime, COVID, super important but negative kind of things.
Fires.
Hmm. But hometown feature news, I wanted it to be lighthearted and more of a, I don't know, like a happy element to
You
the
can just
plot.
say, it, and there's nothing wrong. Most feature news is probably along the lines of something that's informational or good news.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's not a problem whatsoever because you do see these folks under circumstances that are they're living their lives, they're having a good time, and that's appropriate. And that's something that would be taking place similar to what we had with the story from Carlin, which is a feature on the Columbia County Fair and the activities, and what Lauren is doing with Hurricane Ida relief. That is good news because people are getting some help. Okay, so are we good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks, Alexis. Now that's going to move us on to our next website, and this is Courtney. Now, Courtney, like I said, what you need to do, if possible, it may change if your format changes. But whenever you are taking something from another source, always keep in mind that you need to go back in and clean up those paper strips or what looks like, as I've said, ticker tape whenever you're cutting and pasting something into the blog. There's always a way to clean it up. But this is what yours looks like. Courtney is looking at the Dallas City Council approving a $10 million police overtime amendment. Now, something like this, especially in a metropolitan area, can fit under the rubric of a feature story. It's not always necessarily a hard news story. And it also indicates in the second paragraph that the Dallas ISD is not going to change mask mandates. And depending upon the state that you're in, the locality that you're in, some of the mask mandates are going to be a little bit different. But if you're in a metropolitan area, sometimes the feature news is going to feature something along the lines of in smaller locations could be considered hard news. I think it really all depends upon how you want to do it. Now let's take a look at her lead sentence. Quote, Dallas City Council approves 4.3 billion, including 10 million for a police overtime amendment. And right now the police department is down 800 officers. A potential offshoot of a feature story with that is someone who is thinking about being a police officer going through training in Dallas. That would fit under the area of a feature story as well. Because always remember, most of the time, and there are exceptions like this, a feature story is not necessarily going to be something where the fate of the Western world hangs on it, but something that is not necessarily lighthearted in nature, but sometimes more lifestyle. And that's what Courtney's website looks like. And now let's move on to Seth. Like many of you, he's got the read more. And as I indicated with Lauren, Seth, call that feature, not feature. Just make it feature, like hard news, feature news. His website from top to bottom, and the link to a feature. Now, the one thing I would do, Seth, I would change this because anything involving a shooting is not a feature. That's hard news. Let's go back to your link. The police story that Courtney did is basically on a borderline, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt because it involves funding. But in this case, here's your hard news story. Oklahoma deputies investigate a deadly shooting in Oklahoma. We took a look at this photo in a previous class. That's obviously a screenshot from a television news station covering the story. So that would be a hard news story, the shooting in Oklahoma. Now let's go back to your feature story number 5. A shooting is not a feature story. A shooting is a hard news story. So you want to go back in and change that into something else. And occasionally, if you have to change a story, it's not necessarily going to have a bearing on your grade, but all of you need to understand the difference between a hard news story and a feature story. Feature story is usually something more along lifestyle, and I've talked about that on more than one occasion in this class and gave you a number of examples. So please make sure that you're watching the videos. That brings us to Taylor. And let me show you what her website looks like. She is at assignment 4. Let me repeat something here, that the repeating is actually in the number. I was checking this before class. She's got number 4 hometown feature news, which is actually number 5. Directly underneath, she's got hometown hard news. So let's look at this from bottom to top. She's actually on pace 1, 2, 3, and then 4 hometown hard news. Taylor, just renumber this to 5. And here's her feature with a read more. She's got 1, 2, 3, 4 different stories. Now, something involving a serious issue, such as abortion in Texas, if you're focusing on some of the women, it would be a feature dovetailing off of a hard news story. So in this case, it could be appropriate for a feature story. Because how is this going to affect women in the state? And featuring their lifestyles. Are they going to have to leave Texas for any types of issues involving reproductive rights? And there is a doctor who is opposed to the laws in a civil lawsuit filed against him. How he purposefully violated the Texas abortion ban. So you could put this into a feature involving either this gentleman or women who are going to go out of state for any type of examinations. Quote, last paragraph in full. Support for the OBGYN has been showcased across the country, and Americans are eager to see the outcome of the lawsuit in hopes that the suit against Braid will shut the Texas abortion law down. So there is a way to take a serious story and turn it into a clicking on Taylor's name. Remember to renumber that as 5. And that brings us in reverse alphabetical order to Morgan. Now I'm trying to be really careful so I don't X out of the class. It usually happens once or twice a semester because I've got so many windows open. But I think it's important to be as interactive as possible in all of my courses, whether in class, face-to-face, or online. Morgan, as I'd indicated that all of you should, is tweaking the look of her blog. How might this appear on her computer? How might this appear on her phone or yours? And then she clicks down. This is her hard news story. City redistricting underway after 2020 census results. And this is the story that she's written. Lead sentence, quote, after the 2020 census, it appears that population shifts could lead to 2 city directors being placed outside of their districts due to redistricting. This is currently going on in the Arkansas State Legislature. The potential cutting up of Pulaski County, the most populous in Arkansas, into 3 different congressional districts. A form of gerrymandering, if you will. That's her story. her hard news story, and I think that might be a link. But that's what her story looks like, and she's got a subhead here with a quote, and there is the original story. View the original article to learn more, and then she's got a link to the original article, more about gerrymandering. So she's playing around with different stylistic approaches to news writing. So start up at the top. There's a link to the number 4. I don't know what that is. Let's see right now. Oh, the photo is just made bigger. So let's click on her name and come back down to the story. And this is what it looks like with a quote in italics. There's a link to the article. There's a link to more about gerrymandering. And as we go back to her home page, I just want this to sink in. That's why I keep clicking back on it. She's got generic graphics, which is fine, keeping also in consideration that she's got a background in graphic arts. She's an interactive media major, meaning a little bit of business, a little bit of art, and a little bit of mass communication. And here is her link to her feature story. Oh, I see how she's doing it. Number 5 is hometown feature news. I intentionally try not to look at these before class, so we're all looking at them in real time at once. So this is assignment 5. Library book sale returns after much anticipation. Looks like there's some real historical books there. Peggy Young, Friends of the Library Board president, looks over an old Bible that will be included in the Garland County Library's annual book sale. And she goes ahead and puts a headline or a caption to the photo. You don't have to do that, but if you want to experiment, that's certainly acceptable. Let's take a look at her lead sentence here. Quote, the popular Friends of the Library book sale is back at the Garland County Library. Avid readers are excited to shop until they drop for used books, audiobooks, CDs, and even board games. And then she includes a tweet to the Garland County Library. This is why I want you all to experiment. Even if you're done with a story, how can I take it and potentially make it better? So she's working in interactivity. As many of you, the word counts may not necessarily be all that high, but putting in links, putting in social media imprints is certainly appropriate. One of the upsides to last year is the increase in donations to the book sale. With COVID, that's certainly not unusual last year. As we saw before, a link to Morgan's original article, and then a link to Friends of the Library. And then she's got the Hot Springs Sentinel record with, of course, the link on the left. So now let's take a look at this from bottom to top. If we wanted to showcase this on any social media platform, we could. Her word count, again, is not all that high, but she is, as many of you, creating an immersive, interactive media impression. So does hers, for example, look like a professional news reporting blog? And it does. And I think for all of you that we've looked at so far, Carlin, Lauren, Alexis, Courtney, Seth, Taylor, leading to Morgan, I think all of you are on the right track. Always go back and double check to edit so there's nothing that sticks out like a sore thumb. In formatting, in writing, in spacing, in making sure that there is a conciseness to your paragraphs and that you are factually correct and that there's a link to your original story. That leads us to Haley. Here's what her website looks like. And the link to Hometown Feature News. Read more. And her hometown feature story is about COVID. and how it's been changing the world. And she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different stories. Her hometown feature is more lifestyle of how people have had to adapt during COVID. And all of her graphics are basically weaving in that particular perspective. She's got a generic COVID graphic. Magnolia, Arkansas High School goes virtual. How this has affected stores, the different types of vaccines, because of course, Moderna in the middle is the one that was made available to Southern Arkansas University faculty and staff. You've got Pfizer on the far left. You've got Janssen, which has been primarily used overseas, on the far right. And then you've got a link to the Magnolia Reporter website for a drop in cases from the Arkansas Department of Health. But this also fits as a more serious version, as you saw with Courtney earlier, with the Dallas Police Department funding and 800 officers down. This fits into the feature category because it's more of an historical perspective on the 2020, 2021, and 2021, 2022 school year, as shown in these two photos, among others. The city of Magnolia, that needs to be capitalized, no longer has a mask mandate. Wearing masks are optional. And this all depends upon the state that you're in, the locality you're in, the business, the school, whether or not you want to use a mule rider mask, as you see here, or whether or not you're using a doctor's mask, which are available in bulk, the blue masks, or whether you're using an N95. Quote, although life is not back to where it was before the pandemic began, I believe it is safe to say that as a community, the people of Magnolia are inching closer to complete normalcy. Now there, you could use the term normalcy or normality. So if I really liked that story, or if any of you did, you wanted to share the story on social media, that's where you go. And I always see the Google Blogger icon at the bottom as my indicator that I can scroll back up. So she's got, as you can see, in reverse order, 6 different graphics that help her tell the feature story about how people in Southwest Arkansas over the past year are dealing with the pandemic. And those who are currently in or have taken Introduction to Mass Communication know that for the movie review in fall of 2020, Haley wrote her movie review about going to a movie theater in El Dorado at a time when there were no vaccines, specifically in the summer of 2020. That brings us to our next website, and I'm going to update it to see whether or not it's changed, and it has. This is Kaylee. I always try to refresh your website just before I put it online for everyone to see, because some of you, even though you may not be with us live, are working on projects whenever we're doing this from 2:10 to 3:30. Kaylee has updated her website. The last time I checked, this is what we were at, breaking news update. Now we look up on top, and she's got all different kinds of graphics. Her hometown feature news story, locals receiving recognition and cash from Beat Shazam. Keeping in mind that we looked at this online the other day, as I recall from the Magnolia Banner News website, with these individuals doing quite well with her format. Notice what happens when I go left click. It comes back on the screen that way. Beat Shazam on Fox, Jamie Foxx as the host. And here they are in action and winning a lot of money. Now they're waiting for the checks. The Magnolia contestants, And here they are on the show on the far right-hand side. You can imagine the pressure of doing that on a national level. Let's make sure that all of these photos are seen. Carissa and Emily beat Shazam. And then all the way down at the bottom. And this is why the visual storytelling means so much in a class like this. That also is part of the story. That's a pretty big deal. We had someone from Magnolia a few years ago who I think was on either America's Got Talent or The Voice, one of those programs. There is a link to Beat Shazam on IMDb and a link to the story from the Magnolia Banner News. If she is still working on the story, that's certainly acceptable. And then we would continue just to scroll through, and this is in the snapshot format, to see everything that she's done so far during the term. And we'll check back later to see what she's got for Hometown Hard News, because that is her feature. And we have a couple of more websites to look at. Gwen is next. I'm going to refresh a couple of these at the end of the alphabet in reverse order to see whether or not they've been tweaked. So for all intents and purposes, this is the last project that we would be looking at today that is updated with assignment 5. So Gwen's got Hometown Feature News with a link, which is Central Baptist Church related. And we were looking at this story scrolling through the other day on Magnolia Reporter. Hometown Hard News, we noticed that visual the other day that came from Mike McNeil, Magnolia Reporter video report, posted to his Facebook page. She's got design consistency all the way through from number 1, going back up to number 5. Central Baptist Church photo, which leads to read more. And here's a simulcast to be hosted by Central Baptist Church. On Saturday, September 25th, Central Baptist Church will be hosting Priscilla Schreier's simulcast, Go Beyond Live, streamed live from Little Rock, Arkansas. The simulcast will be held in the church sanctuary beginning at 9, running until 4, with several breaks in between. So what we would want to know is, there's the spelling of this person's name, S-H-I-R-E-R, S-H-R-I-R-E-R, and then S-H-I-R-E-R. So let's go to the Magnolia Reporter website and make sure that her name is spelled S-H-I-R-E-R. Going back to Gwen's story, right up the top. As we were looking at before with one of the terms on a previous website in terms of spelling, I just want to make sure, Gwen, that when I go through this, that the spelling here, the spelling here at the bottom, and here are all the same. So I'm not being nitpicky. I just want to make sure that everything is consistent all the way through. So you'll want to go back in and edit this right here. But I like the way that you have this set up. You've got the headline on top. You've got a link to Magnolia Reporter, number 5, Hometown Feature News. Now, I'm calling this color on my computer peach, but it's very attractive in terms of aesthetics. And then that leads us down into the first graphic, which is Central Baptist Church, and then of the person featured on the simulcast herself. Quote, the event will include a day of teaching, prayer, and worship led by Anthony Evans. $15 is the price for admission. Go to the Facebook page for further information, and the cost will cover lunch and snacks. She's the author of multiple best-selling Bible studies and serves every denomination and culture of the church. And what Gwen has also done here is to provide a link. Now, usually with Gwen's links, like Magnolia Reporter, it should open in this window. And everyone has their own style. Everyone has their own brand. And I'm not doing anything. This is automatically scrolling through at the website. And always at the bottom, I can't think of anyone who would turn down a cookie, digital or otherwise. So we'll continue. But let's just take a look at that branding for a moment, because some of you are in public relations. And there she is, upcoming events. Let's click on that before we go any further. Going beyond simulcast, live and virtual, Simmons Bank Arena. So that is what's going on related to the story. Now, will this open in the same window? It does. This is the Going Beyond simulcast, live and virtual. And this definitely, Gwen, fits into the element of a feature story. And also on the right-hand side, there are items that you can purchase that are part of her brand. So the Bible teacher and worship artist for a global Bible teaching event at Simmons Bank Arena. So now, and there is her logo on top, all of the links if you are interested in her ministry, but we click back once, twice, 3 times, and we get back to Gwen's website, and the blogger logo indicates that we're at the bottom. And again, as we did earlier, if I wanted to send that out as a tweet or on Facebook, it's very easy to do on Blogger. Final paragraph quote, more information regarding the simulcast can be received by contacting Central Baptist Church. So the event going on in Little Rock is going to be streamed live, and there's the link to the Magnolia Reporter story. And when we click on Gwen's name, that's what we see. One more time from top to bottom. All of you have an identifiable style. The story so far, Columbia County Fair from Carlin. The Columbia County 4-H Hurricane Relief from Lauren, and that certainly fits into the realm of a feature story. Alexis looking at National Assisted Living Week is celebrated in Columbia County. Courtney's looking at it from a slightly different perspective, Dallas City Council, police funding, among others that she has there. And Seth, like I said, the one that you have, I would rewrite, because basically both your number 4 and number 5 feeding, which will have shootings, number 4 in Oklahoma, number 5 in Fayetteville, are really both hard news. And then Taylor's story with the doctor who was looking at the abortion laws in Texas, focusing on him and his activities being covered in the media would fit into the realm of the feature. We had Morgan with a library book sale story. We had Haley looking at COVID-19 from the past year. We had the Magnolia teachers doing well on Beat Shazam. And as you've been looking at Gwen's website, I've been going through other links. And of course, she has the ministry from Priscilla Shirer, which is going to be the simulcast. And that's her version of a feature story. For the record, I have 2 more websites on the screen, and I will show them to you after I refresh them. Just going to click on the websites themselves. As of right now, this is what Jonathan's website looks like. And by the time we get to Tuesday of next week, Jonathan, you'll want to refresh that so I can show what your hard and feature stories are. And the last website I will put up is Finley, and she's basically in the same boat with updates, but wanted to show you what hers looks like when you click on the blog. And that's what everyone's material is looking like as we transition into the last week of September. Let's return to Google Drive. A couple of other items before we conclude for the week. When it comes to the syllabus, as we have one more class period before fall break, a reminder of point allocation and a reminder about time management. There are 300 points in the course. You've got the reporting and writing assignments on Google Blogger. This is all just above the highlighted material. The final project, which is visual journalism, posted on Google Blogger, class participation. Do not forget, proper time management is essential to success in researching and writing course assignments. Of course, editing is an equally important element of that process. As far as the topics are concerned, more and more as we progress through assignment 6 through 10, a clean, short writing style with the 5 W's. Who, what, where, why, when. We're going to get away from anything that is opinion-based and get into factually related reporting. And keep that in mind when you're watching videos of all of my classes. I try to give you timely data that's going to help your research for the particular project we're discussing, as well as cohorts from years gone by. Some of the other things that we'll be looking at the bottom of this particular page: public records, local, state, national, sourcing, attribution, context, balance, audience engagement, information gathering via social media, citizen participatory journalism with listening posts being assignment 10. This is what I wanted to highlight. Your reporting and writing assignments for the blog. When you go to Blackboard in the Grade Center, you're not going to see any scores posted for a long time, not until late November, early December. All of the projects, numbers 1 through 20, are going to be graded. Your blog is going to be graded as an entity unto itself. That blog is worth 200 points, or 2/3 of your total grade. The final project at the top of your blog featuring visual journalism is going to be worth 50 points. And I was talking to somebody live before class today about possibly focusing on their area of interest as a non-major, what you would like to do as a career, and focusing on that part of communication as a visual journalism project, whether it be social media visuals, whether it be some type of data related to videos or related to screenshots that will tell a visual story, or it could be something else, a story told in photographs, as what you saw with the story told in photographs that Alexis had with the assisted living situation in Columbia County and celebrating it this week. And class participation. I can go into the Grade Center on a regular basis and find out who's watching the videos, which is important in an online course. Keep in mind, what we're working on every week, assignments 1 through 20, is 2/3 of the grade. The final project, class participation, equally as important. Research for assignment 6, campus crime at the local, state, national, or international level, will take place next week. I'll send out a tweet before Tuesday's class and have research on assignment 6. By the time we return for break, as I told you before, in early October, I want everything to be caught up. Assignments 1, defining news; 2, breaking news updates over a 24-hour period on a social format of your choice, likely Twitter; 3, news leads with story links, primarily Twitter or Instagram; 4, hometown hard news; 5, hometown feature news. If you don't like the look of your blog, or if you want to go in and edit something, that's acceptable. keeping in mind that you need to stay relatively timely in getting all of this work done. Don't start your assignments in mid-October. That's going to really seriously injure your grade. Getting stuff done on a regular basis, even though sometimes it might not be exactly perfect or exactly the way you want, is something that I'm looking for. I don't want to go to blogs on a regular basis and find that nothing's been done. Luckily, most of us are keeping relatively up to date with projects, and that's good to see. Campus crime research coming up on Tuesday, and then we will, in quick order, work on 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And by the time we get to the end of October, we'll be at minimum at assignment 12, which is numeracy. There may be an opportunity for you to work on 2 different projects at the same time in one of our class sessions in early November. Sometimes I will ask you to work on 2 stories at once intentionally to see how well you can research and write 2 different stories that are interactive, that have links, that have, if appropriate, social media or video content. And never forget, 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, and 2015 websites of this class are available for you to examine. There may be something in a format, there may be something in a writing style, there may be something to the way their paragraphs are aligned or their storytelling ability with that immersive, interactive approach that you think would work for you. But most importantly, for all of you here, always double check your own work and check that of your classmates. That's one good way to learn, and I think it's really going to help all of you in the long run. So as we conclude the proceedings for this week, most of the work that I'm seeing has signs of promise. But I always say, never be satisfied. You are going to, in the end, be your own best judge of what works and what doesn't. The suggestions I give you, I think, are appropriate for people who are considering media or something associated with it as a career. Look at your lead sentences. Are they factual? Are they accurate? Do they include as many of the 5 W's as possible? Are you taking interactivity, as many of you are doing, giving us a link to the original story for either Hometown Hard News or Hometown Feature News this week? Are you following the context of the assignment? What is a hard news story? What is a feature news story? I've explained that at length over the past couple of weeks. What are we going to be looking at on Tuesday regarding campus crime? I'll send out a tweet, and then we'll look at the Jean Clary Disclosure Act and how other individuals in the past have worked on Assignment 6 and Assignment 7, both of which are going to be due the Tuesday and the Thursday after we return from fall break. So let's make certain that everyone gets caught up by Tuesday of next week as much as possible, and certainly by early October when we return from fall break. Always watch the videos, always look at your classmates' work, and always remember that I am your professor and your editor, and having extra sets of eyes, I think, helps. One element that all of you should look at between now and Tuesday of next week, when research for Assignment 6 Campus Crime is going to be done. Look at your websites on your computer, and then look at them on your phone. Are they easily readable? If you need to take the font size up just a little bit, maybe from smaller to medium, go ahead and experiment. I think that's very important. We will continue on Tuesday of next week, and this video should be available on my website and on Ultra in short order. As for MM2003, reporting and writing for the mass media, that concludes the recording session for today.